Samurai, the invincible warriors from Japan. Keep that keyword in mind. Samurai are really cool. They're up there with cowboys, pirates, Vikings, ninjas. The fuck was that? Anyway, they're really cool. And a lot of media today likes to focus on samurais. I think we have Demon Slayer, Ghost of Yotai, which hasn't released yet. Obviously, Ghost of Tsushima, the predecessor. Um, a lot of Western characters, mostly Wolverine, takes inspiration from samurai because of the Ronin archetype that is prevalently featured in those honorful warrior stories. But I wanted to take a bit today to talk about my favorite piece of samurai media by the great Takehiko Inoue, one of the greatest artists of our time, physical media. And I just wanted to talk about how great this series is because I'm reading it and I need to talk about it somewhere. Now, I love Vagabond like many other people, but I like it so much I even got a Miyamoto Musashi phone case. Anyway, oh, that went a lot further than I anticipated. But I love it because it's a coming of age story and it resonates with me in another way, as a fighter. Vagabond, it's it's about Miyamoto Musashi becoming a samurai in his own regard, to be invincible under the sun. I love that quote so much, I even used it as one of my Instagram captions. And I stand by it. It's, as a fighter, invincible under the sun is such an amazing quote. And it makes so much sense. If you're performative under the big lights, that you can count as your sun. Or you could just like to fight and the feeling of strong, hence just being invincible in any shape of the day. It resonates really well. And the story, it like Musashi, while he does learn to become his invincible and to get stronger, he also navigates his way around other aspects in life, like coming across someone who's weaker and wanting to train them, or falling in love, or hardships about your life and what you want to become and how you get there and what you have to lose along the way, and finding yourself. And it's a very fast story. It's one beat to another, and it was written that way, obviously just for the release dates for the manga. But if it was translated into an anime, you could take it slower and add filler episodes, which I think would suit the story real nice. But it's very clear. So much time can pass in a single chapter or arc that you understand Musashi's growing as a character. I'll show you what I have, and I want to talk about a few specific arcs in Vagabond and why they feel so special. First though, we gotta go get my phone case back. Now, I currently own 8 of the Big media versions of the Vagabond series. I don't pirate it because it's such a great story. I get these in Sub-City Comics in Dublin, and it's the only way. I thought about pirating it, but once I saw they had it in stock, I knew I had to pay for it. I'm currently on volume 6 of the 8. That's how much I love it. I've bought 2 books ahead. There's currently, I think there's 12 in the series because it's an unfinished series. I do have to specify that. It's an unfinished series, but there's 12 volumes. This is the average volume of size. It's really big, but they are quick reads. So I've got another 4 volumes to get, and this series will cost me €300 to purchase. And I have no regrets in that. I love it so much. And I'll show you these volumes because they have the sideline art, and I'd like to show that off. And just each volume, just the cover, it's just so nice. Like, it's honestly, it's every. My speaker just died. Every image is just like phone wallpaper material. Let me show you the covers. These are all the books up side by side. This is the one I'm currently on. You can see my little bookmark there because I'm not evil. But even this is just a display of what way I can talk about them and how good they are. But let me start and tell you how I first got on Vagabond. I might have just said it, but let me explain it in depth. So I first got connected with the series because I was watching Taku Inoue's. I was watching the anime version, but the author's slam dunk because I was in such a for an anime, and it was so good. I went onto YouTube and I watched videos about it. I watched the movie, and then every time Vagabond was brought up and how great it was. So when I seen Sub-City Comics in Dublin was selling it, I decided I'd go in and I'd buy the first volume that they have. Subsidy sells them for €25. I'm not bad. It's more expensive to buy them online. But I bought this first one in December 2024 and I left it there for a month. I did not touch it until New Year's Eve when I was getting ready to go to my first New Year's Eve party or even just my first nightclub. I was 17, I was very excited. I borrowed someone's ID, don't do that. And I just sat downstairs and I read it. And I think from then I was hooked. I had to wait to go into Dublin to buy the next two because now I buy them two at a time. I had to wait to go in to buy the next two of the series, and then I actually think I read volume two really quick, and I spent so long before I bought volume three. That is the way it goes. Once I read it, it takes me an hour, but it's going to get to read the next book. But anyway, let me talk to you. I mentioned it resonates with me as a fighter, but that wasn't true up until I want to say book three here. I'm going to talk about this specifically. Actually, I'm going to go back on my words a little bit, and I need to finish talking about book one. As an 18-year-old, when I started reading at 17, this book, in this part of the series, is really about identity, as well as the second half, first half of the second book. It's really about identity, and this part hasn't resonated with me yet. I just seen cool samurai, cool quote, cool drawings, because the art is phenomenal. But this book, it's really about finding yourself, and I'm sure when I go to read it again in a few years' time, I'll understand it and I'll love it. But first off, it's just the fighter is what resonates with me. The fighter in me. That sounds wrong. Now the arc, I really fell in love with this book in, because before it was mostly like a shonen. He sees the Yoshkai school. There's obviously the whole backstory before that, and the bald-headed monk. That was all nice, but as I said, as a fighter, I really connected with part three because of one character introduced. It was Inushin. Inushin, strongest there is, can't find anyone to fight. That I don't resonate with. I'm not the best fighter. I'm not like him, but it's the way Musashi reacts to him and his reaction at the end of it when once their fight is over, and I was just like, wow, that is so real. Like Musashi, he just he loses, but he doesn't accept it. He's very petty, and I think it's just written really great compared to like characters from actual like combat sports anime, like Hajime no Ippo. Ippo, he takes it on the chin. Ippo, I love Hajime no Ippo, but he takes it on the chin, and there's no real interestingness to it apart from wanting to see Ippo win. But with Vagabond, it's more like what can he do? I know Ippo is going to train. He's going to get stronger, and with my understanding of boxing, I can get how he does it. But with Vagabond, it's like, what cheap trick? Like, how does he? Because he has no issue playing dirty to become the strongest. And I like to see the way he progresses because he goes about it very differently. And then another thing that Vagabond does that Hajime no Ippo or other anime like that don't is they explore the character outside of their need to fight and their want to fight. Mimo Musashi is in love with the one girl. I can't remember her name. And I love the story, but I can't remember anyone's name apart from Musashi, Inushin, and Sasaki Kojiro. That's not even his real name. But Musashi, like his love for her and how that affects it, like in Ippo, you see him and Moshiba's little sister. It's not as explored as in this story. And this story, I feel like, explores the character outside of their need to fight. Or once we get further along the story and we meet, not you, I think it's this guy. Yeah, this samurai, and he puts down the weight of the sword, and eventually he picks it back up as the story progresses. But it's his way of going about it, and you see his different perspective on life, and that just this is actually completely separate to Mimo Musashi, and I will have to talk about that. But the way he reacts to it, or this arc, I love this fight. I actually got really sunburned reading this in the sun in a heat wave. But this guy, I didn't even know he was in the story before. He's actually a returning character, but I didn't even tell. I didn't realize until the very end. But his different way of fighting and his attitude compared to someone like Inushin or then when we see Sasaki Kojiro, I'm getting that right. It's his friend, childhood friend, and how they all go about their different ways of becoming the strongest, and swords and the way of life, and it all just connects. And then Musashi just walks through it because he sees these people as strong. He needs to beat them to get stronger. And as a fighter, I understand that. You see the best in your division, and you're like, I want to fight him. You see the best in your club, and you're like, I need to test myself against him to see what we compare to. And as much as I like the story, it's not immune to criticism. Like, his childhood friend is somewhat interesting, but the granny finding him, I have no interest in that part. That does not affect the story. When she meets him again and they reconnect, and he has to explain, like, that does not interest me. I get it, but it's been a running along, like, you get about one chapter per Viz Big edition with it included, and it so hardly does not interest me in any way to focus on that. When I was talking about the actual big changing plot point of the story, and it's not even spoilers. We're back to this guy. This is actually, so in about issue 5 of the story, we get completely new cast characters without any mention. It just goes from end of Musashi's story, and it just cuts straight into this. And this is honestly, I wasn't as hooked on it until I think where I got to once I started reading this Big Six, because it's all about a mute child whose father is a samurai, and the child is connected to the sword, but the father doesn't want it. And once this story starts, the father has to bring up the sword, but he won't train the son. But the son is incredibly strong, and I really do hope, I haven't finished it now, but I hope him and Musashi get to go blows, and I think even Musashi will win. But it's just great watching this kid who can't speak, no way to communicate in old Japan, I don't know what era, and how he reacts and his love for them way of fighting for the sword. It's honestly just, it's really good. But I think for most people, the appeal of the samurai is what I mentioned before, the Ronin archetype. Musashi's archetype. He's a man on his own, looking for his way to get through the world by himself. That's what vagabond means. It's Ronin. It's something similar along those lines. That's what it means. And that's the archetype people connect to. Like in Ghost of Tsushima, you are Jin Sakai, the last samurai on the island of Tsushima, and you're the last protector against the Mongols. And then, as obviously the plot of Ghost of Yotai, you are the singular lone samurai. You have your code of honor if you choose to be a Ronin. It's the Red Dead Redemption effect of honor. Do you want to have high honor or low honor? And from what I understand from the media, samurais are built to have high honor, like with Jin Sakai going against his uncle and becoming the ghost of Tsushima, and how that affects him. And that's what people connect to. It's by themselves and they're making a decision. Like in Demon Slayer, they're the Demon Slayer core, and they're all the same. They all have the same values. No one goes against what you do in the Demon Slayer until it's Hanjiro bringing in the enemy. But he doesn't even go against the core and the values. He just has his sister, and they learn to understand that. That's not the Ronin archetype, and that's why it's not treated in the same regard as the way the samurai stories in Ghost of Tsushima and Vagabond are. And I think the character that fits this archetype so well, and it's somewhat what introduced me to the broader idea of samurai, is Wolverine. Obviously, he has plenty of samurai stories, and that's the archetype. It's Wolverine, it's the lone wolf, it's the Ronin. And Wolverine's case, obviously, if you put him in a story with the X-Men, he becomes a leader. But if you put him in a story by himself, it's either a tragic love story with him and and he fights Silver Samurai, the traditional full-clad armor samurai. I don't know if he goes by color, I don't know much about Silver Samurai, but a traditional looking samurai compared to the Ronin aesthetic that Logan keeps up in his robes. And that's the archetype. Or even in a horrible way to say it, in Avengers Endgame, Hawkeye, he becomes a Ronin of sorts with the sword, and it's that area. That's the archetype people connect to, and that's why I love Vagabond so much. That's why so many people love Ghost of Tsushima, and it's why people love Wolverine, because he is a samurai. Now, obviously, not in all of his stories he is a samurai, but he fits that samurai archetype so well that he does actually become a samurai. that's just how of a great story it is. Even with his even his claws, like he in a lot of samurai stories or in Wolverine and the X-Men or the Wolverine movie, he uses swords. Obviously, he swaps to using his claws as well, but it's the same visual and it's the same effect. And to be honest, if you want to get into samurai media and you love Marvel, like Wolverine is such an amazing character to step into because he has such deep, rich lore. You can find him in any story. He's really the most appealing in his stories when he's set in Japan and he's in love. And while we're talking about characters that fit the archetype, actually, sorry, and while we're talking about characters that fit the archetype, there's one, and I completely forgot to mention this, and I had to re-record a part of the video for it, is one of my favorite characters of all time, down there, Batman. Now, obviously, Batman fits a ninja archetype as well, with the lone warrior and stuff, but in the two movies, Batman Ninja and then Batman Ninja Yakuza League, while he does have he is technically a ninja in the movies, he fits the samurai archetype and the aesthetic, obviously the time period of in Yakuza League, it's Edo era Japan, I want to say, but even those two movies were just great, and it shows you the archetype and why people love samurais. And like Batman goes for anything. Batman in his normal stories he is just a ninja. In this one he's a ninja too, and then he does pirate Batman. Like he goes for all the areas that I mentioned at the start that people love to see. And the samurai is just a type of storyline that some characters like Batman, Wolverine, Hawkeye, if you want to count it, they fit into it so well. And I just had to mention that, and I had to bring up Batman Ninja if I was talking about samurais, even though it's a ninja story with the Miyamoto Musashi archetype and the way the story goes. No, I'm not there yet, but the reason a lot of people love Vagabond and Miyamoto Musashi is the journey he goes on. I haven't finished it, and I probably won't resonate with it at the age I am. But in the same way they resonate with Guts from Berserk or Thorfinn from Vinland Saga, it's the arc of going, I need this, I want revenge, I want great things, to just being happy with the, I have no enemies. I don't really know what Guts has, but obviously he goes on that tragic arc. And then in Vagabond, it's, I want to become invincible in the sun. The words I currently resonate with right now as a young athlete, fighter in particular, I want to be invincible in the sun. But at the end of the story, it's just invincible is merely just a word, which it is. And that's the character arc he goes through. He goes from becoming a no-named beast from the forest that nobody in his village likes to one like the greatest regarded samurais of all time. And in real life, Miyamoto Musashi is a real person who did real things, and he's regarded as one of the greatest samurai of his time. And you watch Takeru Inoue's idea of how that story goes, and how Miyamoto Musashi learns to go from his youthful aspirations to just accepting, yeah, I'm the strongest now, but all that bullshit wasn't really needed along the way. And that's what a lot of people love about Vagabond. Anyway, thanks for listening to my absolute yapathon about those invincible warriors from Japan. There's a lot of samurai media I'm yet to consume. I will play Ghost of Yokai when that releases. There's an anime called Samurai Shampoo that I love locks. Obviously, stuff like the Boondocks, it takes huge inspiration. I haven't finished the Boondocks completely, but stuff like that takes huge inspiration from samurai media. It's actually a Viking sword. I don't know why I'm holding this. A really cool aspect. I make a video about them. But a lot of media takes inspiration from samurai that I can't even talk about, and I'd love to, but I haven't consumed media yet, so I don't want to say my opinion. Plus, this video is just how much I wanted to talk about Vagabond. So, anyway, probably once Ghost of Yokai releases, I'll make videos on it, because I really want to get into my grind now. But anyway, thank you for listening to my absolute yapathon about Vagabond and how great it is. Even though the video is going to be titled Samurai full stop, it is Vagabond full stop. Or I might change it, I don't know yet. I need to edit the video. This was a quick idea, I just wanted to get the ball rolling, and I just felt like something like Vagabond that I really like at the moment. Like, I like it so much that I do plan on getting a tattoo of it. I will be on my left hand, I'll show you this aspect of my right arm. I want a panel from Vagabond there. That's how much I like that story. I want it on my body completely. And right now, I'm not gonna make any promises, but you know that image of Musashi in the water, just or his with the blindfold over his ear, anything like it's such a valuable story, and it looks art from Tokyo Inouye, it's just perfect. Might even show you some of my favorite panels, like if this one, like all these, it's just great. And but I just wanted to talk about Vagabond. That's what this video was. But if you made this far, thank you for watching. Like, check out my TikTok, same name, and if you want to subscribe anyway, thank you for watching.